Today is my trauma anniversary, and the truth is, this time of year impacts me a great deal, and I absolutely hate that. Every year, I want so badly to get past it, to be past it, but my humanness grips me despite the strides I've taken. My nervous system activates, afraid and confused. Flashbacks haunt me when I least expect it. My brain and body become more and more fatigued for seemingly no reason. I feel myself dissociating and longing for coping strategies long since buried. In short, I feel like my worst self. It is all so remarkably difficult to think about, and yet it is all I can seem to think about. It is so remarkably difficult to talk about, and yet you get it. The primary reasons I find it difficult to talk about are as follows. 1, I am in every way my most vulnerable self, and to be misunderstood at all feels like a dangerous risk to take. 2, I feel embarrassed to still be so impacted by things so far in the past, regardless of the continual impact. To acknowledge the ongoing pain risks undercutting the healing work that I've done, even though healing is not linear, and I know that I've made progress. 3, I worry that I will not be taken seriously. That if I talk about trauma or the impact of trauma too much, it feels attention seeking. In the same vein, if I don't ask for support and I do spiral in some way, that recklessness can also be seen as attention seeking. The concern of others' opinions in this, as in all areas of life, is a lose-lose situation that does not prioritize my needs. And like all of us, I am worthy of needs and the fulfillment of said needs. The concern around others' opinions here is deep-rooted in lies I have been taught, manipulation I have undergone, and emotional regression across the board. So what is to be done here? Am I strong enough to do what I know is best for me? I know I need to share. I need to ask for help. I need to risk being misunderstood so that I have a chance to be potentially understood. Every risk has two sides, and I deny the help that I need by seizing control in this way, by silencing the narrative. Such protection is misguided. It is vital to not share such sensitive parts of me with those unworthy, but the reality is I do have a strong support system that I do deeply trust. Trust is an elusive construct if not utilized and leaned on. I would hardly feel trusted by a loved one who never enacted that trust, but claimed to feel trust in their heart towards me. It's a flowery idea and a useless one if not practiced. I honor my trusted ones by offering my vulnerability and vice versa. So here goes. Trauma anniversaries are serious. Regardless of how far off the trauma is, how much I've healed, or how little I think about it all anymore, it is serious. Every year feels easier and I feel more prepared, but certain symptoms persist that are my responsibility to take care of. Trauma can be very easily built on itself if we are not receiving the help that we need. Often, even when we are, actually. I know for me, I wallowed. I was drowning and scared, hopeless, with no strength to fight the demons anymore, and I was, in response, reckless. This recklessness paved the way for further trauma that impacts me the same exact time of year, the exact same weekend, in fact, 1 year removed. This makes perfect sense, and I have grace for myself regarding my past recklessness, but with grace and forgiveness, I also must embrace the consequences. Consequences that mean a more intense trauma anniversary every year. Consequences that mean really scaring and scarring my loved ones who pulled me out of the wreckage. Consequences that also mean a greater level of self-care and caution around my mental health and inner space, which I am grateful for and has saved me again and again ever since. Someone I loved died, but didn't. I felt the need to grieve alone for fear of being misunderstood. His life expectancy was short and loomed over him. Demons plagued him, and I'm not sure that he had ever believed in a truly happy life for himself when I met him. The longer we were together, the more he declined. Mentally, physically, emotionally, he grew more and more hopeless. I did everything in my power to care for him, to carry the burden with him, to remind him of his worth. To me, he was extraordinary. I had already mostly lost my faith before this time, but watching the profound suffering of an innocent man in such close proximity killed any belief or respect I had in a higher power. I remember saying, if there is a God, he is either ignorant or cruel. My partner would scream and run around in his sleep. He said to me one time, sometimes I'm just so scared that I have to run away, giving no indication of what he was running from or where he was running to. 2 times he jumped out of my car into the street. And I wonder sometimes if he was running from or to something in those moments. I watched his body weaken and his day-to-day abilities, along with any hope for the future, dwindle. Don't make plans around me, he would say. In a few years, you'll be disappointed that you did. We were in and out of hospitals, hardly able to keep track of the meds that he eventually abused. And after an unexpected appendix removal, everything came to a head. No one prepares you for a loved one having a psychotic break, so the truth is I wasn't sure what to make of what was before me. This sweet, loving human was making blanket forts for us in one moment and screaming at hallucinations in the next. His memory was gone, along with his sense of reality. The person I loved was disappearing before me, and I had no idea how to help. I had already given more than I had to give for so long because he was worth it. I thought to myself constantly, it's not his fault that he's sick. To which I meant physically and mentally. It was clear that I wasn't able to offer him the level of care that he needed. And to this day, I have never felt like more of a failure. I was so willing to sacrifice everything, and as I was doing so, everything was not nearly enough. Was hardly making any impact at all, actually, and worse still, may have even stunted his condition. My grief upon this realization was staggering. I reached out to his mother, which of course left him feeling angry and betrayed. And in time, we agreed that he needed to return home to his family, to his home state. He was almost immediately hospitalized upon moving due to sepsis, which nearly killed him. It was never clear to me whether or not he wanted to live, as I think his mind changed on that frequently. What I did know was that he was scared, that everything had fallen apart, that he didn't know what was real and what wasn't, what had been real and what hadn't. And what broke me the most was that I knew without a doubt that he was not him anymore. His personality changed drastically at that point, and the person I had loved so much was gone. The man who did survive all of this remained close to me for many years. He was one of my best friends, and I felt deep in my bones the desire and obligation to care for this person, to honor the memory of the one I had lost. This meant hearing some horrific things from an unstable, healing brain. It meant scary times. It meant waiting for further health declines. It also meant a lot of laughter and a friendship I do not regret, but after many years no longer participate in. Very few people in my life knew what was going on during this time, and no one but my therapist knew the details. I wanted to protect his honor, his memory, and I wanted to hold on to the bond that was built, despite most of it existing on the foundation of trauma. To me, he died, but he also was not dead, and I had no idea how to grieve or how to ask for help. I drowned in it. I was lucky to have help thrust upon me now and again, but I truly was so often alone, seeking safety in the isolation. My flashbacks were visceral and frequent during this time. It feels like a year of my life was reliving the past in my brain, paired with casual bar hopping with friends as we all pretended nothing was too wrong. I am lucky. During this time, I had and still have the most incredible friends and support imaginable. Reflecting on it all leaves me floored, actually. It's a miracle I was able to find any happiness at all in my grief during this time, but I did. I will never be able to thank everyone enough for their endless love and patience. A year later, in a desperate and unplanned moment, I overdosed. I thought to myself, if I don't wake up, I don't wake up. If I do, I will get ready for work and keep going. So I will spare you the dirty details, but ultimately, I realized about an hour later that this was a mistake, and I called 911. It is miraculous that I survived, and survived with so few long-lasting ailments. My friends visited me every moment they were allowed to in the hospital, keeping me company, bringing me clothes and blankets and coloring books. They called me every day that I resided at a psych facility and housed me the days following my release. It was a huge mistake. The fear I caused so many people, the lasting impact on my brain, the real risk that things could have gone the other way. It was a huge mistake. That said, I think back on it with so much gratitude that I could burst. Because I did get help. I got a lot of help. Professionals, fellow patients, friends and family. I was helped. I was loved. And because of that, I am alive. I remember crying in the ambulance, saying over and over, this was so stupid. This was so stupid. I remember the love I felt in my little inpatient community, knowing that even though we were all strangers, we had one very big thing in common, and it was the reason we were all there. It was not hard to give or receive support in that space. I remember the tears in so many eyes as the words were said to me, I am so glad you are here. So it felt important to me to write about all of this and share all of this, in part for myself, because it's good for me to do so. Also, my hope is that if anyone watching this has experienced any of these things, has PTSD or trauma anniversaries or big triggers, or is just feeling lost and confused, I wanted to share about that, to communicate that you are not alone, and also just to express the importance of prioritizing your needs and asking for help, receiving support. There are so many times in my life that I've had to be so embarrassingly candid around what I need, and I want so badly to be strong for people. But sometimes we just are in need. And I have been loved in so many big ways because I have asked for that. And in the same way, I long so desperately to love the people around me properly. And sometimes that requires them asking it of me. So if you are a person who is dealing with any of this, or who is wanting to support someone dealing with all of this, I think it is important to make note of just a few things. I would say it is really important to want to understand, but to be comfortable not understanding. There's a good chance if you are trying to support someone else, who is dealing with trauma, you will just not understand. And that is okay. Your understanding has nothing to do with your ability to love and support them. And that asking a lot of questions and prodding and wanting the details and wanting to know every little thing, I think that curiosity can actually be really harmful. It's really easy to be re-traumatized by reliving these things, talking about these things before someone's ready to. So if you are not explicitly invited into that space, don't push your way in. It is harmful and it is dangerous. That said, be open-minded and be present and make it known that you are open-minded and present. Be patient. Don't take it personally when this person around this time of year or around these triggers acts differently or is more sensitive. Just remember that chances are, like, if you were the person supporting them, it probably has very little to do with you, how they're acting. And I know for me, I've had so many moments that I've just been my worst self, and the people around me have not been able to help in the moment. But when I'm out of the moment, I remember them being there, and it means everything. And it does make all the difference. So even if you are in these intense moments with people you love, and it feels like what you're saying or doing is not making a difference, chances are it actually really is. You're just not seeing it. You're not able to see it because it's not happening in that moment. But later, it really matters. I think just being available to people that are in pain is everything. And I know for me last year around this time, one of my very dear friends, a great way that he loved me was he knew what was going on. I took the day off of work because I knew I was going to be a mess, and I was. And he texted me and basically said, "Hey, I would love to stop by your apartment and drop something off for you. You do not have to open the door. You do not have to talk to me at all. I'm just going to leave something for you." Because he knew that, like, I was not in the space to handle the social pressure of being around anyone, even one of my best friends. And he knew that he didn't understand, and he knew that it wasn't his place to ask. He knew that I didn't want to be around him. Even though I love him, I did not want to be around him. He knew I couldn't handle that. And so he just texted me, and he texted me an hour later and said, "Okay, I went by your place. I opened my front door, and he had bought me dinner and some drinks, and he just left it outside my door for me." And that was it. He loved me so practically and so beautifully, and was so thoughtful by not getting himself involved, by not trying to understand, by not forcing his way in, by not allowing the curiosity to lead the way. He trusted me, and he loved me as best as he could, and it meant everything. I felt so much more supported by that than by the people asking a lot of questions that I wasn't ready to answer. Yeah, so I think all of that's important. And I just think that being vulnerable when you are able and when you are with trustworthy people is just really, really important. So if you are a person who is self-harming or is tempted to, who is struggling with thoughts of suicide, who is just carrying way more than any one person should carry, please, please, please ask for help. There is no reason to be alone in it. And whatever that looks like, if you don't have a good support system, there are good resources out there. Like, I have called suicide hotlines that have absolutely saved my life before. There are amazing professionals out there. If you can't afford that, like, there are other resources it's worth looking for. You are worth the help. and you are worth being brave enough to ask for it. So, cheers. Happy anniversary.